I'm with the Capital Region Council of Governments, and as you may have figured out from the various notices on this meeting, this forum, there are several forums on the Sustainable Connecticut program that are being sponsored throughout the state. The forum tonight is being held in conjunction with our Regional Planning Commission meeting. So some of you will be here just for the forum portion of the meeting, but then my members hopefully will be able to stay for a few minutes so we can conduct a small amount of business. The Sustainable Connecticut program is a project of the Institute for Sustainable Energy of Eastern Connecticut State University. So the staff from that program will be carrying out most of the meeting for you this evening. And I'm here right now to really just give you a little background on what we've been doing in the region and some of our perspectives on why it's important for all of us to be concerned about how we can make our communities, our region, and our state more sustainable. Also, I guess the other thing I'll just mention is, for those of you who are not familiar with my agency, the Capital Region Council of Governments is one of 9 regional planning organizations in the state of Connecticut. We are the largest of the 9, and our area of service is the city of Hartford and 37 surrounding suburban and rural communities. And we work very closely with our member towns as a voluntary association of municipal governments to deal with a wide range of issues: housing, transportation, land use, and in more recent years, a focus on how we can make all those things be done in a more sustainable manner. One of the things that I think about when I think about this topic is that at the Council of Governments, we have been for many years promoting responsible growth within the greater Hartford area. It's really within the last 15 years that we started changing our focus a little more to talk about how the actions that were taken can help create a more sustainable region. And that really came about in 2009 after we had done some work with the U.S. EPA on a smart growth implementation assistance grant. And our policy board, based on that research, established a Sustainable Capital Region Initiative. And so what is the mission of that initiative? It's something that directs our agency to undertake projects in collaboration with our member towns to promote vibrant, healthy communities, protected natural resources and open spaces, provide for equitable access to opportunities in an economically competitive capital region to serve all our citizens today and in the future. And in thinking about what is sustainability from a local level and a regional level, when I think about it, what I think about most is that sustainable communities are good, healthy places in which to live. All the many things we work on under that umbrella of sustainability all come back to that key point. Sustainable communities can be urban, rural, or suburban places. They're places that provide for a range of housing and transportation choices, good access to jobs, healthy food, green spaces, shops and schools. They're places that are more energy independent than non-sustainable neighbors, and also communities that care about protecting clean air and clean water. Sustainable communities are also communities that are easy to walk around or bike around. They have great parks. They're home to people of all incomes, backgrounds, and ages. And I could go on with the list of attributes that make for sustainable communities, and I know that many of you or all of you experience one or more of those in your own towns. At the heart of the work that we've been doing on sustainability, there are several guiding principles that really have informed the type of regional planning that we've been involved in over the last 15 years. And I'd just like to run through those for you, because these are principles that actually guide how we select projects and how we approach projects within the Capital Region as a regional planning agency. And the first is the fact that we believe that sustainable development does need to be an integration of what we call the 3 E's: environment, economy, and equity. In the end, everything is related under sustainability, and if you're concerned about one of these areas or functions within your town, it's important that you know that that is operating not in isolation, but in relationship to the other factors, whether it be environment, economy, or equity. Another core concept that we think about is that it's not just what decisions we make, but how we make them that makes communities sustainable. And this really gets back to what are some of the criteria that need to be applied when we're making sustainable development decisions within our towns. There were 5 criteria that were articulated back in 1997 by the Sustainable Communities Task Force of a President's Council on Sustainable Development. And I think they're still as valid today as they were back in 1997. The first is long-term impacts and consequences. When we're thinking about our development decisions, sustainable development decisions must consider long-term aspirations rather than simply making short-term reactive responses to problems. A second criteria is interdependence. Again, this 3Es concept. Sustainable development recognizes the interdependence of economic, environmental, and social well-being. To the fullest extent possible, we are called on to act in a manner that doesn't sacrifice one goal for another. The third criteria is participation and transparency. Decision-making should be inclusive, participatory, and transparent. And we should make extra efforts to get the input of stakeholders that will be affected by the decisions that we're making. The fourth criteria is equity. Sustainable development promotes equity between generations and among different groups in society. It recognizes that it's necessary that we try to approach all projects with fairness and that we try to reduce disparities in access to fairness within our communities in making our decisions. And then finally, proactive prevention. Sustainable development is anticipatory. What it does is promote efforts to prevent problems rather than focusing on dealing with problems after they've already occurred. Although at CRCoG we don't often articulate these guiding principles when we're making decisions about what projects we're going to pursue or how we're going to carry out the projects, they do impact and affect just about everything we work on within the agency, whether it be community development, transportation, environmental protection, public safety, or cooperative purchasing. And all of the work that we do under these various programs really is focused on building a more sustainable region, not just for today's citizens, but those of future generations within our region. And one of the things that we have learned over the last 15 years is that this all-encompassing nature of sustainability requires that we all be involved. We can make a difference if we are involved. And I think that's really what Sustainable Connecticut is all about. Finding the place where we as individuals, towns, and a region can make a difference in terms of creating a more sustainable community. I hope that tonight's session will expand our definition of what all of us think in terms of becoming sustainable communities and regions and what we can do to contribute to a more sustainable future for Connecticut. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lynn Stoddard.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Lynn Stoddard. I'm the director at the Institute for Sustainable Energy out at Eastern. And we're excited to tell you a little bit about Sustainable Connecticut tonight and get your input. This is basically what we're going to do. Give you a little overview, get some interaction and input from you, get some ideas on logo and messaging that we're toying with, and then share some ways you can stay involved. So we're going to start, tell you a little bit about the Institute. We're out there at Eastern in a little yellow house, and you see our staff on the top, and we have a great group of interns, some of whom are here tonight. Oscar, Emma, Tara, and Veronica. You guys want to just wave for a second? Stand up. There you go. So, and we have a former intern, Steph Rogers, in the back, who now works at Eversource. So we do work on sustainability both on the campus. We act as kind of the sustainability office for Eastern. But mostly we do work around the state with towns and state agencies and so on sustainability and energy efficiency. So the students are a big part of our work. They're involved in all of our projects. They're going to be taking notes tonight. They've done a lot of preparation for these forums. So it's a great part of the job working with younger folks who are eager and excited about these issues. So I think that's the main thing I wanted to say about the Institute, and we're going to start, if you don't mind teeing that up. The conversation about sustainable CT started with a few folks, some funders. We have some special guests in the back as well. They don't want to be acknowledged, maybe. Sabina and Ted, at any rate, from Common Sense and Hampshire Foundation, along with the Tremaine Foundation, they were eager to support community efforts on sustainability in Connecticut. And we looked around and saw some great models in other states. And so together with ISE and our funders, we had some conversations with CCM, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, and brought together a group of elected municipal officials to think about a vision for what a sustainability program would seem like for Connecticut. And we put together a little video of some of these municipal officials so that they can tell you their vision in their own voices.
This is Seymour First Selectman Kurt Miller. Over the last 6 months, a group of statewide leaders have been meeting to create a new program, a program that would benefit all the residents of the state of Connecticut. Now, we knew that for that program to be successful, it would need to have 4 key components. First, it would need to have a roadmap, a listing of different actions that towns and cities could take to make their towns more efficient, more effective, and more resilient. Secondly, we knew that there would need to be the right amount of resources and support available, particularly financial support, to help make these actions take place. Third, we knew there needed to be some type of recognition available to award the towns and cities that work hard to achieve these different levels and these different goals. And finally, and most importantly, we knew that the program would need to be flexible, so it could work for the largest of city or the smallest of town. I'm proud to announce today the kickoff of Sustainable CT.
I'm Betsy Patterson. I'm standing today in Storrs Center on the town square. I'm former mayor for 16 years of the town of Mansfield, Connecticut. The rating system will encompass many areas of sustainability, and we hope that many cities and towns will join us to get a rating for their town on their sustainability efforts. It will encompass things from bike paths to land conservation to water conservation, everything that makes a town or city more sustainable.
My name is Alicia McAvey. I am the Executive Director of Fresh New London, and we are at the Fresh Urban Farm. Our mission is to build momentum for food system change, and we do that through youth empowerment and local agriculture.
I was about 2 years into Fresh when Alicia started working. She was the kind of person to empower others and someone that you realize respects you and admires you and also gives you your space to grow.
An organization like Fresh, a big part of their focus has been this kind of farm-to-school idea, which would mean schools purchasing foods from farms, which is a great initiative.
So Dan Giusti was the head chef of Nova, one of the best restaurants in the entire world, and he is the owner and founder of Brigade, a program that is going to transform school lunch. Right when I found out that Brigade was coming to New London, the first thing I did was ask Dan if he would meet me here. And so we just walked around the urban farm, talked about what Fresh does and the importance of farm to school and the demand, and he immediately got it and got that we should be partners in this work. By slowly and progressively building up this community food system, we do make way for these amazing changes to come in because there's a really great path that we're forming through all of these connections.
My name is Ted Schaefer. I'm the first selectman of Burlington.
We began the campaign in November. He was great. He's a very friendly, open kind of first selectman who really cares a lot about his community and what's happening in this community.
And talking to our residents in terms of the work that they had done with different environmental groups and the concern they have for the ecosystem, this seemed like the most opportune time and to reach out and try to bring this program to the residents.
We really, in the end, I think that it was largely expense neutral. I mean, it really, over a period of a few years, really didn't cost us anything. You had to put a little bit out initially, but
then it evens right out.
But it's paying itself back.
We've worked in big cities and we've worked in very tiny communities. And really the ones that do best are those who have a social network so that people learn from each other. And that's a really important aspect of the Solarize campaign.
With the successful program we had with Solarize Burlington, the trust factor between town officials, community leaders, and its residents was established, and there seemed to be a lot of enthusiasm for other initiatives.
In January 2016, the City of Hartford's Planning and Zoning Commission passed a pretty pioneering zoning code.
It was a large undertaking to basically rewrite Hartford's zoning code and bring it up out of the dark ages so that it's pro-development and respects the residents in a lot of ways. The way that they get around the city is one of those.
We're really lucky in Hartford to have a number of community groups that have really engaged on issues related to climate action planning. One of those is CRCoG, a program of the Center for Latino Progress, led by Tony Chirolis, an active biker. And he really saw a need to bring the concept of biking and the culture of biking into the neighborhood where CRCoG is located. Truly, how we care for our environment and addressing the problem of climate change is really the pressing concern of our time. Whether that means counting the number of bike lanes that we have in the city, or it means counting the number of community gardens, it's important for us to figure out where we are now in 2016 and where we will be in the future.
So as you can see, communities of all sizes can be successful with Sustainable Connecticut, and I ask that you join me and other communities in taking part and working hard to make Connecticut a better place. Sustainable Connecticut, where local actions have statewide impact.
So that's a little bit an explanation again of the vision. Sustainable Connecticut is not fully created yet. We have the program framework, and over the next few months we're gathering a lot of people together like tonight and many work groups to develop this actual roadmap for towns to follow. The examples you saw of sustainability in New London and Hartford and Burlington, those are some of the many, many existing success stories of things towns are doing in the state. And part of the goal of Sustainable CT is to help towns share those stories and learn from each other. So this is just a recap of the vision of what the program will be, a roadmap, so kind of a list of actions that towns can choose to take, and it will guide them. It's voluntary, so if your town is really interested in transportation initiatives or preserving local farmland, there will be a place to enter wherever you're interested or have champions. There will be resources, funding, and technical support to help towns with all of those actions. And an actual certification program to recognize towns for the work they've done. We're creating a program that's flexible, as you heard in the video, addressing the needs of all different types of towns in Connecticut, small, large, urban, rural, and so on. And again, livability and sustainability and a lot of the things Mary Ellen was talking about in the beginning are the guiding principles. I mentioned at the beginning with conversations with a few organizations, again, CCM, our funding partners, and ISC at Eastern. And now we've involved a lot more towns in helping fill out the program vision. So this is just a map kind of showing that we have task force members and working group co-chairs and advisory committee members from all over the state and regional organizations representing blocks of towns. And as we get deeper and have more events like this, we really anticipate moving things around and having enough participatory opportunities that we will be able to make it easy for everyone anywhere in the state to participate in helping to create the details of this program. So we started about a year ago with our conversations with the group of elected officials at CCM. We had a soft launch at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities annual convention in November. So at the beginning of the video when Kurt said, I'm proud to announce today Sustainable Connecticut, that was in November, and that was kind of announcing the program to their peers. And now, as I said, the program, we're working on developing the details. So we're having forums like this and a lot of groups digging in to create the list of actions. We have modeled it after some successful programs in other states, and one of the most mature and comprehensive and successful sustainability programs is in New Jersey. So Alyssa's going to introduce herself and talk about the Sustainable Jersey program, so you can kind of get a vision of where we're headed.
Great. First of all, thank you all for being here tonight. I recognize we all lead such busy lives, so it's a testament to your commitment to sustainability and to making this program successful that you're here. So truly, thank you for being here and contributing your ideas and your vision as we're at this really formative and exciting time in the program. Lynn just showed us in the timeline, but I'll go back for a moment. We're really at this fulcrum point where there's been a lot of visioning and thoughtfulness around what this program will be, and we're at this moment now where we have 8 work groups who are ready to jump in and figure out what is it that towns could do to advance sustainability at the local level. So you're all here tonight as one of 5 statewide community conversations that have been happening periodically over the months. This is the 3rd of those conversations, so number 4 and 5 will be happening next week in Norwich and in Seymour respectively. So if you like what you hear tonight, or if you don't and you want to provide feedback, please encourage your colleagues and peers to come to our next 2 forums. But what we do here tonight will provide really critical feedback to our working groups that are going to delve in to creating a list of program actions in February. So really, you're here tonight to meaningfully shape and influence what happens next in this timeline. Because we're still in these formative stages, it can often be difficult to conceptualize, well, where are we going? We know we have a lot of incredible achievements to celebrate in Connecticut, but what does the final product look like? Lynn mentioned that New Jersey launched Sustainable Jersey approximately 8 years ago. It's one of around 12 states that have successfully implemented a sustainability certification program of this sort. They're the most mature model, so we keep referencing them, but all of the states are part of a multi-state learning collaborative, and we're all constantly listening and learning from each other. There was a national convening back in the fall where folks got together to share lessons learned. So with all of that in mind, Sustainable Jersey is an example of what Sustainable CT could look like, but it is by no means what it will look like in the end. For folks that have been on the website, this will look familiar. For those that haven't, we're going to do a quick drive-through to give you an idea of where we're headed next November and what a Sustainable CT final product could look like, even though the specifics will be different and adapted specifically to Connecticut. So the real excitement around this whole effort is multifaceted, but in this particular fiscal climate, this is a means to leverage new funding opportunities for our municipalities, and Sustainable Jersey has been very successful in doing so, bringing over $2 million in previously untapped funds directly to towns from philanthropic organizations, from corporate sponsors. So for those who have been tracking the state budget, you know that this is our moment to start funneling new funding sources to towns to advance this important work. As we move ahead, so you'll see the website menu across the top is multifaceted. If you were online, you would click on Actions and Certification. You can click then on Actions specifically, and that'll bring you to a list of broad and far-reaching categories. Sustainability is very broadly conceived. Our local representatives articulated that's something they'd like to emulate in the Connecticut program, and if you click on any one of those, we'll take waste management as an example. It then brings you to a list of actions that towns could take. Each has a point value associated with them. It'll be the work of our advisory committee over the course of this year to determine that higher level architecture. But if you then click on a given action, so for example, we're in the category waste management, and we'll click on an action for non-mandated materials recycling. It then brings you to this very comprehensive listing of not just what the action is, but who should lead it, what the time frame would be, costs, examples of other towns that have completed the action successfully. I want to highlight the non-mandated piece because a really critical part of this program is, one, it's voluntary, and two, it's beyond compliance, meaning that this isn't a space for enforcing existing laws that are on the book. This is a space for towns choosing to go above and beyond what's legally required, and also a space for innovation. Again, all voluntary. And for those who haven't seen the hard copy Sustainable Jersey materials, here's a listing sort of in short form. The website's much more comprehensive of what all of the various actions look like here. And it's a menu of opportunity. No one town has to do all of these. So the idea is that every town can participate irrespective of whether you're urban, rural, suburban, inland, coastal, and irrespective of town resources. That was an articulated value among the CCM task force members, that there'd be something for everyone. Every town could participate. In addition to providing a list of actions, there's also a lot of support embedded in this program, as Lynn mentioned. So this is the link to various events and trainings. We envision Sustainable CT not only providing some original trainings, but also being a hub and bringing together a host of existing programs that are already doing great work in the state, and being a conduit for disseminating information about those events and trainings. So by way of example, you can click on the conference training and webinar presentations tab, and it'll bring you to a fairly comprehensive, up-to-date listing of anything and everything sustainability related that you might be interested in. And then finally, we mentioned the funding, grants, and resources are critically important. So in addition to the various funds that are brought through Sustainable CT, or in this case, Sustainable Jersey, to towns, there's also a compiling of resources and grants that are pre-existing but relate to sustainability. So you can click on the tab, and then it shows you. This is an old screenshot, so it says nearly $1.9 million in grants have been provided. But if you look on the website today, you'll see it's over $2 million. So we're thrilled by that and hope to emulate that success. And then finally, with respect to participation is extremely high in this program. Over 80% of towns in New Jersey are in some way engaged in the program. And if you click on their interactive map of participating communities, you'll see where in the continuum of opportunity they lie, from those towns that are registered to those that have achieved various statuses. Sustainable Jersey rolled its program out slowly. Initially, there was just a bronze certification. Then they moved to offering a silver certification to really try to push the early adopters and innovators toward further innovation, and they're just now rolling out a gold level certification as well. So if you click on any given town, for example, we'll take a look at Newark City. This is a highly transparent website platform and a great opportunity for towns to engage in mutual learning. And it gives you a profile of when the town first registered for the program, what their certification is, and then all of the various documentation that that town submitted in order to achieve that certification. So similarly situated towns are interested in seeing what a successful town needed to do that they're able to as well. So if you click, this is all interaction on the certification report, you can delve into more detail. And then as you move further through, it'll list all of the actions that the town chose to implement. Remember, it's a voluntary program, and there's a menu of choice. So each town will achieve certification through a different conduit. So this is a list of actions that that particular town was successful in. And then finally, you can dig further still and see what they submitted. So if you click on Sustainability Office Ordinance, you'll see the actual documents that they submitted. So lots of opportunity for learning. And this is an opportunity for our learning as well. We've shared a lot about our vision and our thoughts, so I want to invite Lynn back up here to join me. And at this point, we wanted to turn the floor over to all of you for questions you might have about how this will unfold in Connecticut. Yes, sir.
The website, the Jersey website that you said you're modeling the Connecticut process from, what is the website, what is the URL?
That's a great question. It's sustainablejersey.com, all one word.
What do you attribute the high level of participation to? Why are so many towns, do you think, deciding they want to be served?
It's a great question. I think because they used a process similar to one that we're trying to emulate here. It's a program by towns for towns. It's not prescriptive. It's not top-down. We've had the privilege of a great deal of connectivity with Sustainable Jersey, and they've had a highly participatory process over the years. So I think through forums like these and many other conduits, we've sought to emulate their success through a lot of early engagement and making sure that everyone is part of its development. I think the flexibility is also another really critical piece. So we envision, and the advisory committee will have to flesh the details of this out over the year, but if you can sort of analogize in your head to college, there'll be something akin to a core curriculum, so certain actions across categories that towns must take, but beyond that you'll have the analogy to electives, so towns can determine based on their values and what's right for them locally which actions to pursue. So Lynn, I'm not sure if you have anything you want to
Yeah, I think I'd just jump in with, it can look a little dry, a list of actions and interacting with how you certify that you've taken those actions. But it's really about people. And when we've had mayors and others from New Jersey come up here, they've talked about how it's been about community building. It's, they'll show pictures of bringing students together to build a community garden and recycling things or bike things or whatever. It's tapping into people who want to help create change in a community and giving them a bit of a roadmap that's flexible so they can find like-minded citizens and work together to feel like they're really making a difference. And I feel like that's the piece that's made it so successful in New Jersey, that there's all the support around it to help with that kind of civic infrastructure. Jeff?
My sense is that part of what makes it work is that it gives towns an opportunity to see all of these things as part of an important whole. They can see that the 16 things that we've done that already fit in the map and the 12 things that we've thought about doing and some other things we haven't thought about yet, they're all a part of a piece. And we can see a fabric for our town through this multiplicity of things that we're already wanting to do.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. Catherine?
I was wondering how old the Jersey program is and how many years does that reflect of pulling together that thing like that? And secondly, given that, I was also, having worked on this from different angles, I was wondering how other programs are going to be tied in. For instance, we've already had our Green Bank program, we've had our Eversource program, we've had our EPA Communities program, which I've told that, applied to that one, and then there was the Clean Air, Water Clean Air, I don't know, Cool Air, Clean Country, whatever, all these different things. And I was just wondering if they were going to be tied together, or if there going to be recognition in the past, because I think Jersey just started with this, and then I don't know that they have a lot of other ones.
Well, I think they launched in 2009, I'm pretty sure, so they've been around a while. As Alyssa mentioned, they evolved slowly. They grew the program. They did have some existing things they incorporated by all means, and some that already had kind of their own brand that they packaged into this, just so that it was easier for towns to access many resources. And that's clearly something we're striving for in Connecticut. There are so many good resources, programs, stories for towns to share with each other, that it's really trying to create a framework to weave those together and share them so that others can learn and we can kind of accelerate the opportunities in the state. So yes, we've had lots of conversations with Eversource and Clean Energy Communities and UI and the Green Bank and others with programs that are really valuable to towns that are already really successful and doing a lot of great things.
Yes.
Now that we have a president that doesn't necessarily believe in man-made climate change, does that have any? Is there any concerns that are raised that the federal government may not come through with, like, I know the EPA smart growth grants were discussed earlier, is that the emphasis from the federal government may not be on sustainable development anymore?
I think it puts us right in the place where we need to be, because it's all about local now. We have, this is where action's going to happen. This is where we're going to be able to move the needle on sustainability and creating healthier communities. So the beautiful thing about this program, and it's in great tribute to our funders who are philanthropic foundations, is there are no strings attached to government, and it's bottom up. So they've provided funding and support for us to convene mayors and citizens and businesses to talk about what kind of support do we need to create the communities that we want, healthy, vibrant communities. So I feel that, you know, it just kind of emphasizes the importance of local action and kind of hunkering down and saying, this is a great place to make an impact and to focus our efforts.
I guess I would add to that, I echo all of your comments, Lynn, that it's a really fitting forum that CRCoG has graciously allowed us to use the infrastructure of a regular regional meeting to be here, because in these sort of unprecedented budget times, it's a real opportunity, and there's been an articulation that partnership and collaboration among towns is going to be so critical, and there are models in other states where any one of these actions can be undertaken by a town singularly, or it can be undertaken where there's synergy already for towns collectively. So we're going to increasingly look to our councils of government to promote partnership wherever possible so that we can synergize as much as we can.
Yeah. Through the question, yes, over on the side.
I have 2 or 3 questions. One is, you mentioned that the funders are corporate and foundations, so I wondered, how long-term is their commitment, and are they state-specific? And the second question is the certification process. Is that defined state-specific by your... Maybe a third question might be, is public health absorbed into this as well?
Okay. So I'll take the first one, and you can take the third one, and jump in. So the funding situation, again, we've been very fortunate to have 3 Connecticut foundations very interested in building this capacity and helping create change here at home in Connecticut. We really want to ramp this up so that there will be financial resources and grants for towns in the state. And as happened in New Jersey, once the platform was built, it was very attractive for funders, both state and federal dollars, but corporations and foundations, to see their opportunity for leveraging their dollars by weaving it into this program. So we anticipate we'll be able to replicate some of that in Connecticut, and we have actually been talking to a lot of different funders about the program, and those interested in supporting work in local communities can kind of find a niche within this that might fit their mission, if it's health or land preservation or whatever. So again, we feel that the power of the leveraging of the dollars and playing on part of this platform is something that we'll speak to funders. The second question was certification.
About how it will look in Connecticut versus another state.
Oh, yes. So the certification program is being developed right now. So it'll essentially be the list of actions similar to the example Alyssa went through with points allocated to each. So we're having, and this is something we want your input on, we're having some really interesting conversations right now about the program design and how to use the certification, in other words, how many points you get, or the incentives woven into the program to incentivize towns to work together and multi-town collaboration, to address things that have multiple benefits in towns. They have health benefits as well as economic savings as well as resource savings. It's to be seen. We have a bunch of advisors and a bunch of people giving input from the town level, including all of you, and we'll see exactly how that certification ends up looking in Connecticut. And the health?
Yes, there was one more question about health. Before I answer it, I just want to say this is really your evening, so we really wanted to set the stage and empower you with just enough information that you could then contribute to the conversation. So Sharon, after I answer your last question, we'll take one more question, and then we're going to move into small group discussion because we want to make sure we leave appropriate time for you to really give your voice and shape the program. But with respect to the health component, we view it as critical, and we'll talk more about this when we get into small group conversation. But if we scroll back, New Jersey had a very ambitious structure in terms of the number of categories. So if you roll on their website, there's a really daunting number of categories, and maybe we'll move toward a model like this, maybe not. But in this first year, we have 8 working groups poised and ready to go in February. As you'll see, we'll distribute handouts in small group what those 8 categories are. We wrestled a little bit with how to structure them because there were some areas we felt were so incredibly important that they defied being left as a standalone category. So Sustainable Jersey made the choice to have a health and wellness category. We don't have such a category because we view as health being integral to all of the categories. So housing is one category. We'll have a local public health official on our housing working group. We have a public services category around municipal services. Every single one of these categories, you can draw an argument that it leads to or impacts health outcomes. So transportation, while simultaneously you're trying to build systems that are more walkable and offer non-driving transit choices to reduce carbon emissions, you're similarly promoting active transportation in a community, getting people walking, moving, and improving health outcomes. So health is critically important in all of this and embedded across all 8 working groups. So, all right, last question.
Yeah, if you look at the STARS community rating system, so cities like Cambridge and Northampton are 5-star cities. They've got a lot of the same rubric already spaced out. They've got the point system allocated, and it's a nationwide initiative, so it wouldn't be as much inventing the wheel over again. It'd be more, it would be a good one to use as a reference point.
Yeah, it's a great point. We have looked at that, and there are a lot of people have tried to figure this out, how to make it easy to be sustainable. I think back to the question the gentleman in front of you had, the power of this in New Jersey, of the uptake, has been because it was built locally, and we could have taken STARS or anything and just slapped Connecticut on it, but we feel that the session we're going to go into now, where we all have conversations about how does sustainability look for me in my town, is a very important piece, and kind of reflecting that in the creation of this. It would have been more efficient, wouldn't have taken a process of a year or more, but we feel that with more engagement and customizing this for Connecticut, it'll probably have greater value and meaning for towns. Certainly we've looked at STARS, we'll continue to, and borrow things from that.
Before we move into small group, I just wanted to acknowledge Mayor Cantor, who just walked into the room. Thank you so much for your commitment to sustainability. I'm a West Hartford resident and so amazed and excited in my almost 15 years in this town now, strange to say, of the incredible progress that I've seen since first moving here, and so thrilled to have 3 children who are in a school system that's also so committed to sustainability. So Mayor Cantor, at the conclusion of our time here, will offer some closing remarks, but I just wanted to thank you for being here on the wings of a very busy evening and juggling a lot of other commitments. So at this point, we'd like you to do a little bit of musical chairs. We're going to ask everyone to stand in a moment, and you're going to break out into four small groups. So those on this side of the room, you could sort of demarcate where the first half of the room is, if you could make a small circle. Those in the back quadrant, if you could make a circle, and let the same on this side of the room. We're aiming for 10 to 15 people per group, so do the best you can, and we can help you.
It's such a pleasure to to meet people and hear all the wonderful things. We always think we're all that, whatever. And you all are all that. You all are doing amazing things in your own communities, and I already heard some really progressive, wonderful, forward-thinking ideas. And obviously, we actually just had a SMART meeting on the trash reduction options, and the DEEP is running throughout the state. And it really brought up a lot of this visceral feeling of, don't change this. So the education component to all of this is so important in engaging the public. And it's really sad when it becomes political. So I think we all benefit economically in the future of Connecticut. I'm speaking to the choir. You all know that. But I think it's really important for us to communicate with others, share ideas that work. If a statewide program is being enacted or researched, like this trash is a sort of a statewide initiative, that we communicate what works with each other and what doesn't. So that's what I would ask from all of you, and keep up the good work and share your good ideas. Thank you for your leadership and what you're doing, and I think if we can bring all, Connecticut's a very smart state, we're very innovative, we do a lot right, we just are really bad at selling it, telling people about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. Those who are here for the regular business meeting of CRCoG, that will now progress. And for those who aren't, if you could, by all means, continue your conversations. We want to see you networking, but if you could sort of accelerate your exit and do it in the hall, I think the CRCoG folks would appreciate it.